Hello, I'm going to talk again about my pw80 which has been modified after I've had various comments left on the first video. And I would also this time like to actually start it up and rev it a bit, as I did not do that and not many people seem to watch the video I'm actually riding it. Right, to answer the first question, well, what some people have been saying, no, it is not like an MX bike, and yes, a 65 MX bike will beat this. What this is a lot better than the standard Pee-wee for a reasonable cost. Most of the mods I've listed, as some other people have said, have been supporting mods, and what I mean by that is that the mods I've done prep the rest of the bike, apart from could do a bit heavier weight rear spring, prep the engine and that ready for actually increasing the compression of the engine and altering the porting of the engine, the ports in the engine, and especially the exhaust port. That's one of the main ones, as I've modified the pilot to give it a bit more juice. I might have to just change the main to a little bit heavier, say from a 125 jet to a 130. But the rest of the stuff I've done is all just to actually mainly get it ready for increasing the compression quite a bit and doing the ports. That's where a big power gain comes from. But everything I've done so far has actually made the bike a lot better than standard, a hell of a lot better. But that's when it will get the real big power boost. The main thing, the FMF has helped no end the whole system, as well as just open up the airbox. The main thing, if you do nothing else, which is practically free, is if you just open the airbox up, which is, as you can see, in there I've removed the snorkel and cut a hole and put mesh in it, and it seems to keep pretty clean. Now I've got this of pw80 only front mudguard. That keeps a lot of the crap out, so that mesh, that keeps it pretty clean, and I've got an oiled Moose Racing air filter in there. Like I say, I mean, it doesn't do half bad, surprising. I weigh 16 stone on, so when you think this is probably meant for 10-year-olds weighing about, I don't know, 7 stone maybe? Something like that. So fly with them little whippers on it. Not like an MX bike, but very good for what it is, because this bike was originally meant to have, the engine anyway, was meant to have more power than it comes with, but they de-restricted it because it's a beginner's bike, and kids were after the pw80 where you just rev it. They were, and other bikes, they were just used to revving it out, especially in first gear, and not changing up enough, but just holding it pinned in first for ages and ages. And so they had to make the rev less and produce a bit less power for engine longevity, as well as safety in a way as well. It's not got such a hairline of power band. Sorry. It's quite spread, even with the stock exhaust. Although it's quite torquey low down, it's still quite wide power band, really, compared to some two-stroke bikes. And like I say, with this what makes the power band a lot higher up than low down. You lose a lot of low down torque with this. That's the only problem. You have to get it revving, and once it revs, it's gone. Once you've got build-ups. But the point is, the bike as standard was on purpose made a lot slower than it could be, and the airbox was the main thing that they restricted, because it had the 3 snorkels, rubber snorkels together. But if you try and suck through straws, you get the idea. It's quite restrictive. Also the exhaust, I mean, it had that washer in it to restrict it more, but obviously most people took it out, and that was in the manual. But even then, the exhaust design is very restricted with the narrowing and everything. Good torque, but very restrictive again. And the rev limiter on it, which is part of the CDI, that's been restricted down since the late 80s ones. They restricted that so it won't rev as high. I like to get a CDI unit from an 80s one, early 80s bike, and that allows it to rev a lot higher, as I can tell of my rev meter there. And if I could stay, I just want to prop it on a bowl at the moment. I've got to lengthen the kickstand because I raised the rear shocks and the front shock, so it leans over quite excessively, and especially in this mud here in England it's a bit soft, so and to use a drinks bowl. Anyhow, like I say, I mean the front shocks, now I've put some PVC type piping, 1 inch long, and filled up the oil 6.5 inches from the top, and timed it all the way in the internal adjusters. It's quite simple to do, takes about an hour tops, and that makes it a lot better for heavier weight. You know, because this bike weren't never designed to take my weight. The rear shock, however, I put an extender on so it sits up high, but doesn't actually affect the shock itself. So I mean, it obviously doesn't come as far in because there's more length to it. The extender is a solid piece of metal you screw in. You just take the shock apart and it all screws in. Or you can drill holes in the chassis frame, similar thing. But the problem is with my weight on it, the shock goes straight in and doesn't provide much shocking once it's gone over a bit of bumps. But also it can kangaroo at you, that when it gets a bump and then it goes a bit over something soft, it can, because of the pressure built up in weight, it pushes out. And it can try and skid you off the bike a bit. It can just, you know, get a bit lighter, and then it just pushes itself because it's coiled in so much, and it can snake the bike a bit if you're not careful, if you're going over a lot of bumps. So it's pretty hard to go over a lot of bumps with this. I've got to get a thicker shock spring, like some off a KX60, some people reckon, or 65, I think, on forums, or a TTR90, or something else. I'm sure I'll figure some out. That'll be done over the winter, as well as I'm going to be doing porting work and engine compression work. Because apart from having a fresh piston and small end bearing and rings, it hasn't actually had this head's all standard. So we're all the ports. It's just had the exhaust and the air intake done, and the CDI and a bit different coil and spark plugs, a twin spark plug, V-type electrode, that sort of stuff. But the actual engine itself, to get real serious power gains over what I've already done, which is a good power gain, don't get me wrong, I've probably gained about 50% power of a stock, but to go to the next leap, it's porting time as well as getting the head milled to increase the compression up to the maximum I can really get away with the squish band. Like I mentioned on my other video, if you want to learn a lot more about pw80 modding, as I'm only really an amateur, is you want to visit thumpertalk.com, and you want to go on the special interest section, and there'll be a Pee-wee section, Pee-wee and minis, and there you'll find a lot about all sorts of small bikes being done up, especially the pw80. And you want to look for a guy called Smarconi, or even ask him. If you make an account, you can PM him, and he's done a thread which I linked to on the first video, and I'll link to on this video, about doing up his pw80. He eventually made it into a bit like a motard, a bit of a road racer type thing, but the point was he did a lot of mods to it, and he did the porting work and the compression work, which I ain't done yet, and he has some dyno figures to back up a lot of stuff. And like I say, that's what I eventually want to end up with, a bike similar to that. Maybe not quite as high performance, but you know, a lot better than standard. As it is at the moment, like I say, it's about 50% more than standard power, and you could easily get 3 times the power if you want to fiddle with the ports and the compression, sorry, and if you want to also increase the cylinder capacity a bit. But as stock, I reckon you could get, with a lot of work done, you could get 2 times the power of a stock engine. Obviously you have a bit different power band, maybe a bit narrower, but as it is, it's about, you know, 50% more, and I could easily get up to 2 times, I'm sure, just with a bit of porting, a bit of cylinder compression increase. But like I say, it's you know, you might even be able to get it up to, if you were really had the right tool, people to be able to do this work for you and knew the figures, to be able to get up to nearly an air-cooled older MX bike, similar, not too far, probably 10% lower, something like that. But that would require quite a bit of money and time, and that, you know, like the older air-cooled motocross bikes of the 80s. Water-cooled ones, no way, you'll never get as powerful as that. Like I say, I mean, I'm really happy with her. She definitely sounds a lot better, and goes quite well. Just been running it a bit earlier on, just cleaned it off for this video. I'll just start it up now. Hope she starts okay. Let's see. Just to let you listen. Yeah. That's got a bit of condensation in it. You can read the revs on that. And that's from bike speedo. It's the only problem, she's gone a bit cold now. I think she's idling okay now. Well, ish. But she sounds a lot better than stock anyway. A lot more loud, as you can hear. Yeah, that's it. Good old Yamaha. Definitely better than the Chinese junk. So that's idling now at 2,300 RPM, although you can't see it on that. Just slowly increase it. Quite quick to rev, because the stock one takes a bit of going, but yeah, not too bad really. Alright, any questions or comments, please leave them at the end in the section at the end of the video. Thanks, bye.